Hello, everybody. We're going to give everybody a couple minutes just to find their way inside the webinar. So I can see people loading in as we speak.
And it's Friday, right? So
it is Friday. Beautiful, beautiful Friday.
Can never forget.
All right. It looks like we might have quorum. All right, so I'd like to welcome everyone today. Thank you for joining our Friday feature series. And today, my name is Nick Talbert. I run marketing here at Quartile, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to our CEO and co-founder, Mr. Daniel. How are you doing today, Mr. Daniel?
How are you? I'm doing great. What about you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing well as I'm always doing well. I'm really excited to hear about hourly optimization and in margin-based targeting. I'll let you take it away.
Cool. Excited to be here. Thanks everyone for showing up and taking a quick overview of the new features we are just launching and finalizing on our end. Very excited about them. I think that maybe I can start with some background on Quartile, right? So Quartile is an advertising platform, very focused in e-commerce, right? So we manage more than $10 billion a year in sales, more than $1 billion a year in e-commerce marketing spend, global presence. We have clients in 26 or 27 countries. Our ads are served in 15, 16 countries today. We do Amazon, very strong on Amazon. We do Instacart, Google Search, Google Shopping, Amazon Attribution, DSP, Home Depot, and a bunch of other channels. Presence, offices in New York and London, and there you go, right? Very focused and very strong on artificial intelligence. So we have a huge, very big data set, machine learning models, very well trained, thousands and thousands of optimizations hourly. And this is one of the things we're going to cover today. It's a proprietary technology powered and enabled by 6 patented algorithms and very well trained team to onboard you guys and manage our accounts. We have almost 4,000 accounts connected to Quartile and happy to help in this crazy world of e-commerce that is growing so fast, expanding demands. Things are getting more competitive. Things are getting more dynamic, and it has been a very wild ride. This COVID 15, 16 months we have now looks like it's easing up now, especially here in the US, but changed the landscape a lot. In terms, like I said, in terms of services, we do Vendor Central, Seller Central. When we talk about Amazon, we do DSP, we do Instacart, very strong on Instacart. We're seeing spectacular conversion rates. So very interesting platform too for whoever has a physical presence in traditional retail. Retargeting ads, bid adjustments by placement, by hour, sponsored products, sponsored brand videos, and so forth. A bunch of very known brands on the Vendor Central side. So Unilever, we have a lot of brands from Unilever, Burt's Bees. Then you have like gigantic sellers as well. Thrasio is one of our clients. I'm sure that everybody heard and know about them. We have probably from the top 100 Seller Central accounts in the US, I will say that we have around 20. So very big presence, especially with bigger sellers, very strong presence there. And happy to be here with you guys, right? We're going to cover 2 topics today. The first one is we're going to talk about margins, right? So this is a subject that people discuss a lot with us. All clients want to always ask us what we see in terms of margins and what we think that is the sweet spot for them. And I think that there are 2 different topics we're going to cover here when it comes to margin. One is what should you be targeting in terms of margin, and the other one is how to get to that, right? So those are 2 different conversations actually, because margin is such a hard thing to measure, and we'll get more to that. And one thing is measuring your margin. The other one is like, what should I be targeting in terms of margin so that I maximize my profit at the end of the day, right? And we'll get to that. And then we're going to also cover hourly bidding and some very interesting features we are launching now that allow us to have a much more efficient approach in terms of bidding, not just by placement, but also by hour. So we will cover that as well. To kick off and start this thing, let's talk about the margins per se, right? So usually what we see when it comes to Amazon sellers, right, is that they discuss a lot about margin, but margin is something that is very hard to measure, right? Because when you think about margin, you have basically three dimensions of cost, right? You have the first dimension that is more direct and easy to measure, like which are the unit costs that you incur every time you make a sale, right? So what are them? Referral fee. So Amazon will just charge you once you make a sale, right? If that product doesn't make a sale, there's no cost associated to it. FBA fees, or if you're doing FBM, it's going to be your own costs, right? So how much you're paying for shipping, how much are you paying to deliver the goods to your client? Then you have cost of goods, right? That is obviously proportional to sales. So the more you sell in the same proportion, if you sell 10% more, you're going to spend 10% more in cost of goods for a given product. So those are easier to manage, right? Or better, those are easier to measure, right? Because like I said, they're strict and directly correlated to sales. You sell 10% more, you spend 10% more in all of that. Then you have a second dimension of cost. And the second dimension of cost is almost related to no sales. So it's the opposite. So as you, for example, as you accelerate or decelerate your sales, that usually will incur in the opposite or the reverse way. For example, and I think that every seller, now we're getting to the half of the year, everybody's planning Prime Day. But then as Prime Day goes by, summer kicks in and everybody has to start planning and working towards Q4, right? And on Q4, we all know that the long-term storage fees are, I think, 4 times higher. So you have to be very aware of it. So storage fees, they happen on the opposite or reverse way of sales. So the more, if you push more sales, you spend more on referral fees, COGS, and the other ones we were talking about, but you spend less in storage fee. While if you slow down your sales to increase your theoretical margin on each product, if you slow down too much, you end up paying much more in storage fee. So that makes it much harder, right? Because you have a group or a bucket of costs that are strictly correlated, directly correlated, proportionally correlated to sales. Then you have another bucket that is, for example, storage fees. And then you have refunds and returns and some additional costs that we all know that sellers incur in, that are completely opposite, especially the long-term storage fee or storage fees in general are much low, they are inversed. And then you have a third dimension of costs, and advertising, for example, is obviously or probably the most relevant one on it, that is not directly correlated to sales, right? So you can spend money in advertising and not make any sales, right? And then you might have other products that you are not spending any money in ads and they're making sales. Then you have products that you spend a little bit in ads and they make some sales. Then you might have other products that you just spend a little bit in ads and they make a lot of sales. You might have products that you spend kind of medium level on ads and they make a lot of sales, or they're not making a lot of sales. And just to make things more complicated, the more you spend in ads, if you're doing it correctly, the more you spend in ads, the better ranked your products are going to be, because the more they're going to sell. And the better or the more they sell, the better positioned organically they are, right? So you have a situation in which, like I said, you have 3 buckets, some direct costs, some inverse costs. The more you sell, the lower they are, like storage fee. And then you have ads that are not that directly correlated. You might be on the diminishing return point, so it doesn't make sense to spend more money in ads on that product. Then you might have other products that are literally understanding, and they could be spending more. They have so much room for growing on organic sales, but you are trying to break even in ads, and we see this a lot happening. So it makes things very complicated. Then you have products that have high incidence of refunds, other products that don't. So taking all that into account is almost impossible, right? And then like optimizing for that and understanding exactly how much to spend in each product so that you increase your profits, you increase your margins, is not something that you can do on an Excel spreadsheet. It took us like almost 4 years studying with the data science team to get to the solutions that we got now. That's why we're so excited to be launching this new feature in which you are going to be able to target a specific margin, and our team is going to be able to support you and advise on what type of margin you should be looking for in each product based on how much organic sales that each product has, based on how the rankings are positioned, based on how much room we see for increasing or having other products that you might be or you might want to be on a loss for some time because they're just launching, so you have to spend more on them. But then understanding how to limit that loss and say, you know what, okay, I'm fine in losing some money on this product for some time because it's just launching, but I want to limit how much I do it. I don't want to get to a point in which I'm burning too much cash and I don't see it, because this is something that we definitely see a lot on sellers in general, which is the fact that you have those, let's say it's an 80-20 rule. It's not, right? It's much more concentrated, but let's say it's a 20% of your products make 80% of your sales. What you don't want to do, obviously, is to get sold out on the products that make 20% of ASINs that make 80% of your sales. So you still want to launch new products, you want to grow as a seller, you want to consolidate your brand, you want to go to the next level, but you want to do that without having to limit your capability, your financial capability to maintain the good sellers in inventory, in stock, right? Because if you lose the buy box on them, if you get sold out on them, they stop selling, and as they stop selling, they lose ranking, and then the account turns upside down. So this is what we are doing. We have seen historically lots of sellers saying, I always try to break even on the ads because then I know that my margins are full when I sell organically. That's an oversimplification. It doesn't work like that, because what happens at the end of the day, of course, it's a sanity check to see what is the ACOS you have on the campaigns for a given product. But at the end of the day, you have to realize, and I'm sure you guys do, that some products that are great sellers should be spending more because they have enough margins to do it. Other products that are not moving that much, they have zero organic sales. So just thinking that you're going to break even on the ads and the organic sales are going to make you profit, it's bullshit. It doesn't happen, because at the end of the day, you're not making organic sales on them. Usually all clients, or the average for us is that the average client will have 2/3 of their sales coming organically and 1/3 of sales coming from ads. So the goal is like, how do you increase your ad sales, maintain this balance, so increasing your organic sales as well, so that we find a new balance at a higher level, but still 1/3 and 2/3, right? And that is the optimal solution usually. And to be able to do that, giving you the margin you need, we have to understand and be able to forecast how much each product is going to sell, right? Because at the end of the day, if you have a product, for example, that you sell for $20 each, and you're going to sell 1,000 units today, you're going to sell $20,000. If you want to have, given that we are going to know you have to input on Quartile your cost of goods, and we get from the API, Amazon's API, every other cost, refunds, returns, storage fees, FBA fees, referral fees, and all and the ad cost. We know how much we can spend in ads to give you the margin you want. So if you want 20% margin, it's a $20 product that you are going to sell 1,000 units today. We forecast the sales. The platform understands, Quartile understands that you're going to sell 1,000 units, so you're going to sell $20,000. If we see that we just can spend 6% in ads to give you the 20% margin you want, Quartile knows that it just can spend $1,200 today on that product. And then what it does is that it changes everything on the campaigns, campaign budgets, bids, placement adjustments, allocates across all your hundreds, maybe thousands of campaigns for that product. We will change the bids and everything else to give you the $1,200 a day in spend on that product that maximizes your sales, right? And then by doing that, we end up giving you the margin you want. And like I said, think about the fact that you have 50, 100, 5,000 different products. Being able to do that for each ASIN to give you the optimal result from a profitability level for the account is very hard. And this is the first feature we wanted to show you guys and discuss slightly here. This will be live probably in the next, I will say, 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. So between last week of June, first week of July, we will be launching this. We're going to launch this for existing clients. First, we already have the beta testers chosen. And then by second to third week of July, we'll be rolling that out to all the other clients. So we're very excited about this, right? I know we just have 30 minutes and I want to give you guys some time for the questions later. So I'm going to be brief here on the margin stuff, but basically that's the idea. Instead of you having to try to guess how much you should be targeting as an ACOS and how much you should be spending in each product, what we are going to do, the platform is going to forecast sales for each product. As it knows all the other costs, it will see how much money we have left to spend in advertising in each product to give you the margins you want. And then it will make the calculations backwards to give you the highest sales volume we can with that specific spend. Okay. Important to note, and this is key, is that like usually what we advise clients is let's start from the margins you have now, right? Don't start from like my dream margin. It's the same thing as when you target a specific ACOS. If right now you are selling $10,000 a day and you have to spend $1,000 a day to get to those 10,000 a day total sales. So your tacos is 10%. And you're achieving a 30% ACOS on the campaigns. Don't target 5% ACOS on the campaigns. Of course, you would prefer to have a lower ACOS, but it has to make sense. It has to be something that, given where you are right now, that's where we start from. So if right now you are achieving 30% ACOS, we're going to start targeting at 30% ACOS. And then as we see the volume coming up, then we start decreasing the ACOS. With margins, it's going to be exactly the same thing, right? So we're going to analyze what is your current margins in each product. And our strong advice is, especially for the most relevant products, let's not try to start from where we want to finish. Let's start from where we are now. And let's have, obviously, eye on the prize. Let's understand where we have to be in terms of margins, and then let's keep going step by step, right? We can always walk fast, but you don't have to start running right away. We always say that, especially when we talk to bigger sellers, they're selling on Amazon for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. They didn't start and sold $10 million a year in the first year, right? So it takes time for you to understand, and even for Amazon to be confident that showing the products makes sense. So you don't want to like start from products that have a 5% margin and target a 20% margin. It's not going to work. Let's start from the 5 you are, then we increase 1%, maybe a week, 1% every 2 weeks, so that we keep always focusing on the volume as well, because we want to maximize your dollar profit, not your percentage of margins, right? Again, percentage of margin you are achieving is always relevant, always a sanity check, in the same way that your ACOS on the campaigns is always a sanity check, but you want to understand the long-term strategy. You're not going to solve, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. You're not going to solve all your margin and profitability problems in one day, but I'm sure that we can put you guys in a very good position to be scaling on the right products, understanding exactly how much you should be targeting, and so forth, right? So in a nutshell, this is what we had for margins. Happy to answer questions at the end of this. Happy to feel free to email me, Daniel@quartile.com, or our team, and we'll be happy to continue the conversation. The second topic we have, and I know it's pretty fast, but the second topic we have is hourly optimization, right? So day parting has been a subject that we have seen a lot of people talking about for a long time, right? Interestingly enough, once Amazon disclosed or started to use to enable the history on campaigns, lots of people that said that they were doing day parting, they stopped saying it, right? Because now you can see how often your bids are changed. And this is one of the things that whenever we do an account audit, the first thing that we do is tell clients, like, take a look at history to see how often whoever is running your campaigns is optimizing, is changing the bids, is changing placement adjustments, and is doing everything else. Because if you don't, like we have seen, and Kane, I know that Kanan is here. I have done lots of audits with him that at some point clients say, no, but whoever is running the ads for me now is changing the bids 3 or 4 times a day. And then you go in, and the last time they changed the bid was in February, right? So by looking at the history tab on Campaign Manager, you can see all changes on any time frame you select. And then what comes to the point here, and let me show you guys the screen here. You guys can see my screen with Quartile's interface, right? So basically, this is an account that we are now changing bids hourly, right? And then you guys can see how it's very interesting to analyze how conversion rates change by hour of the day, by day of the week, right? So for example, in this account, and this is a real life account, this client is basically, he has an average of 23% conversion rate. So it's a pretty high conversion rate. It's a big seller, big account. This account is basically like, even though the average is 23% conversion rate, as you guys can see, it varies, it fluctuates crazily, right? So while for some hours of the day, in some days of the week, you have a much higher than 23% conversion rate, in this specific example, probably Saturday at 9 a.m. is the highest conversion rate for this account, 29%. If you go here on Thursdays at midnight, you have a 15% conversion rate. So it's literally half. So think about one campaign that just has one keyword. So you're bidding on that keyword. You just have, let's say, just to oversimplify, let's say you just have one ASIN, and that one ASIN is just targeting one keyword, right? The way you do it now is that you launch the campaign, you get the data, you take a look, and then you adjust bids depending on specific criteria. Not sure exactly what criteria each person is using. But at the end of the day, if you get that same bid every week, let's say you optimize the account once a week. If you do that, you are leaving so much money on the table, because every time you see your conversion rates being lower than average, so all these hours here, and these are premium hours, all right? We're talking about like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., hours that people usually say, this is great, I want to be extremely aggressive on this hour. These are the lowest conversion rates of the day, right? While these hours here are basically almost every day of the week, they're the best conversion rates of the day, right? Of course, this is the average for this account. You have completely different behaviors, right? We have, for example, we made a very interesting study from 2 clients. One that sells sleep aids, a very known brand that sells sleep aids, supplements for sleeping better, and one that sells coffee, a very known brand for coffee on Amazon. They have almost the opposite behavior. And of course, if you try to think about it, what happens is that when do you buy a sleep aid? Basically, when you're trying to sleep, right? At the end of the day, so these hours here that are the worst conversion rates for this account on average, for the sleep aid accounts, they were the best conversion rates of the day. They were extremely aggressive, right? So the platform started increasing bids a lot at the end of the day. While in the morning, it had very low conversion rates, right? Because like, done, you're not thinking about a sleep aid in the morning. The coffee brand had almost the opposite way. Who buys coffee at 11 p.m.? No one, right? I'm not going to say no one, but not a lot of people. So conversion rates are the lowest of the day or at the end of the day. While early in the morning, when you're thinking about coffee, that is when if you click, you buy. So conversion rates are much higher. So you should be paying a huge premium to appear on those hours. So your conversion rates fluctuate wildly. Literally here, we have a 100% difference. So if I'm bidding on average, let's say 75 cents, per click on that keyword for that product, I should be bidding at 50 cents on the lowest hours of the day for Thursday, if this was the account. And then on Saturday at 9 a.m., I should be bidding $1. So the 75-cent average bid should be 50 cents on the lowest hours, $1 on the highest hours. Think about what that changes your ACOS, how much that changes your ACOS. We are seeing a 12 to 15% average reduction on ACOS just by being able to get this data and adjust bids based on how conversion rates fluctuate by hour. Another thing that happens, and that's like a secondary effect that sometimes is even more powerful than that, is the fact that by grouping your bids and being more aggressive and being able to win more auctions on the best hours of the day, you end up increasing your conversion rate, right? Now you're like kind of like allowing yourself to lose some auctions on the worst conversion rates of the day, but you're winning more auctions on the best conversion rates of the day. What that means is that your average conversion rate increases. And when your average conversion rate increases, you increase your average, or you increase Amazon's expected revenue, right? When they run their algorithms, they say, you know what, this is the problem they want to show because it makes more sales per click, right? It needs less clicks to make a sale. So not just you lower your ACOS and you sell more with the same spend, but you start increasing your conversion rate. And when you do that, you have a secondary effect that organically you start appearing first, or you start appearing better, because not just because you're selling more on the ads. If you spend the same with a lower ACOS, you're selling more, but because those additional sales increase your ranking and you're increasing your conversion rate. So both from an expected revenue perspective as well as a customer experience perspective, it pays out for Amazon to show products that need less clicks per sale. So increase your conversion rate, you're increasing your relevancy, you're increasing your organic sales as well. This is live. We are live in 100 accounts now, 110 accounts. We'll roll this out for every client next week. So we're extremely excited about this. I know, like always, Nick, I spoke a lot, but obviously you guys can see that I'm extremely excited with both new features.
Yes, Daniel gets very excited about the new features, as we all do. In fact, we've got some really great questions here too. I think you answered the question about when time targeting or hourly based targeting was going to be available. You said that's next week. The other one was wanting to do is how
already live for more than 100 accounts on Quartile, but it's going to be live fully for all accounts next week.
Yeah. Another great question in here is, how does margin-based optimization differ from ACOS or tacos targeting?
Yeah, so that's like I was saying, like when you think about tacos, at the end of the day, like you're not why are you targeting that tacos, right? Or why are you targeting that campaign ACOS, right? Why? Are you measuring your refunds? Are you measuring your returns? Are you measuring storage fees? Are you optimizing for margins by doing campaign ACOS? You're not even looking at your organic sales. You're not even looking that sometimes you might spend more and that increases your organic sales so much that it pays out and you make more money. Sometimes it doesn't. You are already on a diminishing return point, right? So look at campaign ACOS is like oversimplifying to the limit. Looking at tacos, yes, you could do that math backwards. You could say, you know what? I know my costs. So if I want to maintain a specific margin, I know how much from a percentage standpoint is left for me to spend in ads. But getting to the point of including all the other costs, like we were discussing, storage fees, refunds, returns, and changing and playing with the tacos, given how your organic sales react, to give you the right spend that gives you exactly the margin you're looking for, and having a trained team to be able to go in with you and show you what is the optimal margin from a percentage standpoint you should be targeting. That will give you the highest profitability in dollars, which at the end of the day is what you want. This is completely different, and so that's the biggest difference.
Okay. How do we take into effect, or how do we optimize for things like seasonality versus long-term versus short-term sales effects going on?
Yeah. So what happens is that different ways, right? So Quartile, for example, we have literally millions of products under management in basically every category, and hundreds or at least dozens of thousands of ASINs under management in every subcategory. So in the moment that you connect your account and Quartile reads or gets the data about what is the subcategory or product is in, we already know the seasonality for that product, right? So we have historical data about seasonality. It kind of repeats itself all the time. Of course, you have specific or special days like Prime Day that might change from a year to the other, but then you have Christmas or back to school, or so we have lots of different seasonalities in the year, right? Depending on the category, we have clients that are very strong. Their strongest season is back to school. We have clients that their strongest season is Halloween. We have clients that their strongest season is right now, gardening products, grilling products, those type of outdoor in general are kind of like in the middle of their peak season now. Then you have obviously like toys, gifts in general, and so forth. That the highest season is Christmas and end of the year. So by connecting the account, understanding conversion rates, understanding seasonality, we know that bids are going to increase or decrease at a specific moment of the year. We know how conversion rates are going to fluctuate. So sometimes you might allow yourself to bid higher, and you're still going to get a lower ACoS because your conversion rates are going to increase so drastically, which is not different from seasonality on a daily basis, which is exactly what we are showing here on the screen, right? If I know what times of the day I need less clicks to make a sale because people are more eager to buy, and what times of the days they're just browsing, I should be paying more per click on the best hours, and I should be reducing my average bid on the lowest hours.
And then next question is, and guys, I know we're over time on here, but we're happy to stay on and answer questions. And we can, if we don't get to everybody's, we can also just follow up with the sales call as well. But next question is margin optimization only for sellers, or does this apply to Vendor Central users as well?
On Vendor Central, we're going to do PPC margin, right? Not total margin, right? So we're going to have a total margin, like literally profits, because we have full sales. On Seller Central, on Vendor Central, you're going to be able to select a PPC margin. We don't have access to an API to total sales data. So there's no API on Vendor Central yet. So it's going to be just campaign margin, while on Seller Central, it's going to be margins from a company standpoint.
And then another question about how we're getting the, like basically how we want to know the data from Amazon on a click origin perspective. So are we just getting normally hourly data with various profit tools, or do we actually know how the clients are clicking on the products?
So for different tools like AMC and some other access that we have, we can get data in real time. It's like a stream of data, basically. It's not just calling a report through the API. It's like getting access directly to real-time data, so we can see what hours really convert, which ones don't. So we literally get the data labeled by hour.
Okay. And then if they wanted to drive best brand searches, how would that differ from if we wanted to sacrifice short-term margins on the loss there? So they're basically, if you want to drive best brand searches in the long term, how does our tool sacrifice for the short term in order to get to the best brand searches in the long term?
Yeah, and that's why I say that usually the best solution is starting from where you are now, right? That's why I'm being so careful in saying, don't target the margin you would like to be at right now. Target the margin you're doing now. You don't want to change completely the structure or the dynamic in terms of how aggressive you're being, right? So, of course, if you go in and you have a 3% margin and you target a 50% margin, like there's no shot we're going to be able to get to that, right? So start from whatever margin you're doing now and keep going, and that will allow us to gradually be more aggressive, but without going crazy right away and having to decrease bids so much that you're going to lose all the volume. Then when it comes to brands, there's always an interesting discussion, because some brands want to make sure that we are not spending a lot of money on the brand itself, because they say, I would have these sales anyways. Why would I pay per click here? And then what we say is, because we don't want people to, and then lots of times when we're talking to the client and he's saying, I don't want to spend money on my brand, because then we show them, we go into Amazon, we search for their brand, they see their biggest competitor appearing first, and then they say, okay, I get it. Let's spend money. Usually they say that the healthy thing is to spend something like 8 to 12, 13% of your spend on branded terms. You don't have to spend more than that, but you still want to appear first when people search for your brand. While other brands are the opposite. They say, you know what? I want to be extremely aggressive on my brand because I literally don't want anyone else appearing on my page. I don't want anyone else appear on the top of the page when someone searches for my brand. When they click on my product, I don't want to see any competitor on my page. I want to occupy all the space there. All the real estate has to be mine. Display ads, product targeting ads, everything has to converge to making sure that we gain as much real estate as we can inside our own product pages, right? And other clients, they hate to see their own products being advertised inside their product page because they feel that it's cannibalizing their own sales. So there's no right or wrong. It depends on what you want. Usually we prefer to let the system adjust. It's a very sophisticated machine learning model. It's always going to optimize better than your dogmas, right? Sometimes it's hard. Clients have their own dogmas. They like to do some things. So we're going to be more aggressive or less aggressive here or there, and discuss exactly what they want right away.
And I think there's lots of questions about individual situations and how to best plan for their ASINs. I think one very important point too is, while Quartile is a very, very self-learning driven tool, you will be patched up. All of our clients are matched up with an expert in order to help guide you through this process and review the data on your Seller Central, your Vendor Central account. We go over all of those things and we discuss the goals for the brand. We try to set realistic standards, and that way the model inside of Quartile can basically be set up in the best way possible to get you to where you need to go as a seller or a vendor.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And one thing, Nick, just to complement that, I know we are way off time, but one thing to complement is that I would say that around 30% of our clients are self-service. So they operate the platform. They still, like you said, they still have an account manager that will talk to them once a week. We'll discuss how things are going. Usually our clients, like at the end of the day, each of our clients basically is just seeing their account while we are seeing 4,000 accounts. So of course, we're going to be able to explain them how things are trending and so forth. So it's always an insightful conversation, but 30% of our clients will manage the platform by themselves, while 70% of our clients will prefer us doing it for them. It's the same price, right? So whatever works for each client. Usually as a pattern, we see bigger brands and bigger sellers preferring us to do it for them. And the smaller ones, they prefer to do it. I think that there's a point in which the business grows, and then they realize that they're not PPC specialists. Being more optimized makes a difference because they start really spending real money. So it makes sense for them to have a specialist running. And the business grew so much that they have so much going on. They need time to do the other stuff, and they want a specialist handling it. Bigger brands, usually bigger sellers, they already get it. You might argue, like, why are they bigger? Because they get those type of stuff in terms of they have to let go a little bit and then have specialists running different parts of the business or helping them run different parts of the business. And that's, at the end of the day, chicken and egg, right? Why do they grow? And those usually prefer us doing it, but same thing, they still have weekly calls. We're going to always be discussing, because at the end of the day, we are the specialists on the PPC, on the advertising side, DSP, and all the other tools, but no one will ever understand the products like the client, right? Our client obviously understands their product much better than we do, and they understand their strategy much better than we do. Depends on their goals, short-term, long-term, funding, depending on a lot of different variables, they might have completely different strategies. So they dictate the strategy, we help, we advise on what we think that should be the right strategy for the account. At the end of the day, it's their call, and then we will implement. Especially for the margin thing that is much more sophisticated, we strongly advise that we implement that for you guys, and then eventually you might want to take over, but let us do it. Let us get to the margin first, and then you guys might want to take over, or just leave us doing it.
Yeah, one last question, Daniel, and then we got to wrap things up. Are the conversions that you guys are counting in the hourly, are they based off of the time of the conversion or the time of the click?
The time of the click. You want to pay more for the click, right? Someone clicks, adds to cart, buy 2 days later. You want to be more aggressive on the time that more people that click end up buying at some point. You don't want to optimize for the time that they convert, because like, who cares? If you didn't get the click when they searched, it's not going to be you that they're going to be buying. So you want to go to the source of it, which is the click.
Okay.
Okay.
Wise words, Daniel, wise words. For everybody that's still on the call, we appreciate you so much for staying on this entire time. And we will follow up with you immediately after this. You'll get a copy of the presentation as well as a recording here. So we appreciate everybody, and we hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend.
Yes, guys, and just to chime in one thing, if you're too eager and you haven't more questions and are so thirsty for knowledge, you don't have to wait for the email. You can always just email Daniel at Quartile.com, myself, Kanan at Quartile.com, or if either of those are too challenging from a spelling standpoint, you can always just email sales at Quartile.com, and we'll jump on it today and get back to you with the answers to any of your questions.
Cool, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.